Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jeff DeVerter. I'm the Chief Technology Evangelist here at Rackspace Technology, and welcome back to another episode of Cloud Talk Live. I tell you, like a well-oiled machine. Everyone, thank you so much for being here today. Glad that you're here. Patch Tuesday wreaked a little bit of havoc in my morning, but it all worked out in the end. I want to welcome you to Cloud Talk Live. Again, my name is Jeff DeVerter, and I'm your host around these parts, and I would love for you to introduce yourself. Remember, this is a conversation that we don't just have at you, we want to have it with you. Now, in order to do that, we need to know who you are. So, would you please introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, tell us where you are, and if you want to be like other smart folks who have an opinion they want to share, they'll send us an email over at solve@rackspace.com. You know, we got some folks reaching out who want to be on the program, and so that's always fun. Hey, Boston's here today. Welcome. We're glad you're here. Murata, always glad to have the first person in the chat. All right, so glad that you are here. Let's press on. So it's going to be a really interesting conversation today. I think you're going to really enjoy it. But before we get into the details, of course, if we're not already best friends over on the LinkedIns, it's just as easy as going out and finding me there with the username J as in Jeff DeVerter, and you can click to be my friend. I'll accept it. Just don't sell too hard. Don't sell too hard, folks. All right, and lots of new content showing up over on the podcast stream. Just posted a new one there. When was that, Daniel? I guess it was last week. So, but if you're not subscribed to the Cloud Talk podcast, you're not getting the audio from these events. You're not getting new content that only shows up over there. So, when we're done with this little program today, or you can pull out your mobile if you're not on it already, go to your favorite podcast app and subscribe to the show called Cloud Talk. Now, in other great and exciting news, coming up on May 7th, of course, is our Solve Summit. We went out and interviewed over 1,420 IT decision makers in 10, count them 10, folks. I got 10 fingers here. 10 different countries, and asked them all sorts of incredible questions to really find out what is the state of data and AI in the world today. And we've compiled all that data back together, and we have got some pretty interesting folks who are going to come and share, including of which our president of Data AI and CTO, Srini Kaushik. You're going to really enjoy getting to hear from him, and also Reagan Avon, who you may have seen on our program AI and You, one of the smartest ladies, one of the just smartest people I know in the world. So I would encourage you to set your alarms for that. That is May 7th. It's going to be at 10 o'clock. I know it's not the usual time, but those Solve Summits we like to do a little bit later in the day to give everyone a chance to be a part of it. All right, reminder, check in, folks. Be like Namrata, who's already introduced herself. So I'd love for you to do that as well. Now, it's my great pleasure to get to reintroduce, he's been on the program before, Jason Rinehart. I have ditched his Rackspace corporate title for the more eloquent one that I found on LinkedIn, and that is a cloud adoption and strategy expert. Our topic today gets into just what that Solve Summit's going to be all about, and that's data. But we're going to take a little bit of a different angle on it. All right, Daniel, let's bring my friend Jason up on stage from the booming city somewhere in the piney woods. I don't even know if they're piney woods in Oklahoma. Jason Rinehart, welcome to the program, Jason.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. They're cedar. They're not pine. That's
cedar.
That's an important difference. Yeah.
Same cedars like what we have in Texas that I spend every weekend cutting down out here in the country.
Yes. Yeah. And the same cedar
that
wreaks havoc on your allergies. Yeah. It's awful.
If you are a cedar person or hate the cedar, then February and March are your worst months of January, February, March are your worst months of the year. Isn't it just the worst? So Jason, you have been running around IT for a good a hot minute here, so a good 20-some years in it. But I'd love to hear, you started like a lot of us do as a semi-generalist, but really focused sharpened your pencil in and around the Microsoft tool set. Kind of take us really quickly through that journey of how you got to where you are today, helping here at Rackspace, your official title, Senior Product Engineer, helping to deploy our Azure offerings and create those Azure offerings. But how did you get here?
Oh gosh, that's a long question. I'll distill it to about 30 seconds. So I started my beginning wanting to be a doctor, and then realized that
computers are easier to fix than people.
So I didn't have the stamina and what it took to become an actual cardiac surgeon, which is what I
Oh my
decided I
gosh.
wanted to do. And so I valued my social life and my relationships with people more than I did that. And so I realized, well, I don't know, what am I going to do? And so I made my computer, which was my hobby at the time, I made
Yeah.
that my profession. And so, like most, I started on a help desk, and then I just worked my way up from there. And that's how
Wow,
I ended up
that's
here. Yeah.
I actually didn't know that story, folks. That's the first time I've heard that we went from fixing humans to fixing computers. So
Yeah.
pretty incredible. I love it. Now, for some reason, folks, all of these fun integrations that we have, speaking of fixing things, they're not all showing up over here. So I brought up another screen so I can see the comments. And we do have Olawale from Lagos, Nigeria. I'm not sure if we've had somebody from Lagos before. So, Jason, you've got quite the global audience showing up for you here today.
That's very cool.
It is cool. Now, the title here today, The Rise, Embracing the Rise of the Citizen Engineer. Daniel, I think we have the wrong title up there. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, and it's really interesting because we were talking before we got started, Jason, the fact that we feel like there are several products in Microsoft that a community-driven embracement of that really is what brought that technology to the forefront. For me, it was Microsoft SharePoint. I was deep inside of the Microsoft community, which ran, tons of these small conferences, these day-long events on a Saturday, SharePoint Saturdays we called them. We started to have larger conferences that would coincide with things that were going on that Microsoft corporate was doing. But it really was that community adoption that I hadn't seen before in technology that rallied around it. I think it'd be similar to what you see in VMware. They've got a pretty vibrant community.
Yeah.
But you're just back from a community event around all things data for Microsoft, specifically
Yeah.
Fabric. Highlights of that for you, not your big takeaways, but what really caught your eye there? Tell me a little about the
Yeah.
conference.
So the conference, so this is the first of its kind. Well, I should say this is the inaugural Fabric conference, community-driven conference, and it's the first of its kind for me to attend. And
Mm,
so I didn't really have any expectations about what I was going to expect, what I should be looking for. It was really, I wanted to go to learn more about Fabric and what that is because I keep hearing Fabric. And then I wanted to understand how do all the things from the M365 side of the house interact with Fabric and why that matters. And the cool thing about the community-driven conference was it was treated like a community. Um, it was interesting. The event chose to use an app that you would install that connected you to the event and made it seem like it was an actual community because through all of that, you could spontaneously have breakout sessions. You could interact with small groups of people. There was, opportunities for gathering at round tables and ask me anythings. And I mean, it puts you in front of people that you would never meet before. First of all, that's the community aspect. And they tried to do everything possible to get you out of your comfort zone if you were there with people
yeah.
to get you interacting with other people so that you could share and learn and do cool stuff and learn cool things from other people. And so that was I mean, for the event itself, I mean, obviously there were first year bugs. That's fine. um,
Yeah.
but the event itself was really really cool, being such a community driven event, which was, in my opinion, it was way more engaging, and I learned more out of that than something a bit larger that isn't community driven.
Well, you came, you saw, you got the hat too, apparently. And yes, I
Yep.
really did. As you were just saying that last part, go look up and make sure I had the right logo and I wasn't making a stupid joke, any stupider than it already was. You also told me that while there was a set agenda, there were a lot of pop-up conversations that were going on. That again, you had to be connected to the app to be a part of. Tell us about that.
hmm Yeah, so in the app, it was the app, Hoova, I believe is what it was called. There's a community section in the app where there were announcements. Like, I got this cap because Microsoft, who was there sponsoring, they make announcements. They made announcements every day. We got swag, and so all IT people love swag, and
Who
so
doesn't?
it was a mad dash to the expo center where Microsoft is handing out swag, and so the community engagement in the app from that respect, people started to naturally form little thought groups, as I called them,
Mm.
where they would have topics of discussion, and then they would name a location to go meet, and everybody would collect and talk about whatever the topic was. And I mean, topics ranged from everything. I mean, it wasn't even just about technology, but about everything.
Yeah.
I saw one about how to overcome stress and anxiety in your job. I mean, that's the cool thing about the community driven events, because it's so much more relatable to people and their everyday walk in IT. So
I love that so
that's
much.
pretty neat.
Well, but let's get into Fabric a little bit more. So that it is a
Mm.
new offering. If anybody watched the what was it Microsoft Ignite is when it was
Mm-hmm.
announced last year. Why don't you give us a 30-second definition of what is Microsoft Fabric?
Oh, well, I mean, if you go to Microsoft's documentation website, I mean, Fabric is really just a new SaaS-based platform for an all-in-one analytics solution. What does that mean? Everything from data movement, data science, real-time analytics, business intelligence. Um, it is comprised of a data lake, data engineering, data integrations, and before you would have those in separate pieces here and there. And so Microsoft Fabric, what that does is it provides a SaaS-based platform that brings all of that stuff together to make it so that it's easier to interact and do things with your data. That's Fabric in a nutshell.
Very good. All right, so let's get into the key takeaways. You had four big ones that popped to your mind, because I think they really also help to expose these the primary use cases in places where I think it'd be used. And your first one, which I thought was super interesting, is I think about these use cases, and use cases tend to be very pointed. They tend to be in this area, in this place. And your first comment here was fabric integration is everywhere. What do you mean by that?
Well, yeah, it's Fabric is the idea is to have a singular place. Think OneDrive,
Mm,
except OneDrive for your data. That's what we heard over and over again. It's the OneDrive for your data. And so all of your data, put it into Fabric and use Fabric's engine and capabilities to do things with your data.
yeah.
Analyze it, interact with it, chat with it, you know, visualize it in Power BI. That's the Fabric integration, um, without getting too technical, is the place that your data will go and live from
Yeah.
all the various sources.
So let's bring it all together. Now, is this only intended for other data sources that exist inside of Azure? Can we pull it in from anywhere else in the world? Is there preferential treatment? What is that? If we're trying to bring it all into one place, where all can it come from?
That's a good question. Um, I don't know the answer to that, Jeff. Um,
Well, Satya's announcement was fact. Not that he would lie to us, but things tend to be a little marketware
yeah,
when they're first announced. But I believe it's in everywhere. Of course, the Microsoft assets are going to get first higher privilege in that. Of course,
obviously, Microsoft is going to get first billing or top
sure.
billing, um, but yeah, I mean, Satya, you know, it, the Fabric is bringing all of your data from all of the sources, wherever
Yeah.
those sources reside. Of course, my focus is Azure, but
That's right. The other thing that caught my attention on that as well is the word they used a lot in that, especially that announcement, as well as some of the other information I found as I was researching, is mirroring. So we're not talking about abandoning your existing solution. So a lot of people I can feel are getting nervous in their seats going, oh, do I have to recreate all these connections in a new database, whatever. No, this is a mirror of that data so that you can do the analytics, so that you can do the other stuff on top of it.
right. So why is that important? So there's the big takeaway for database mirroring specifically. This is what we were talking. This is what was talked about in the Fabric conference. Is Cosmos DB database mirroring. So if you would do a typical database mirror, you would have to pay twice
Mm,
for that data. But if you mirror into Fabric, you don't have to pay for that mirrored data. And so the advantage that you still get the resiliency, the um, all of the mirror capabilities, um, the failover, the you know secondary copy, all of the things that you would expect from an actual database mirror. You get that, but you don't have to pay for that mirrored consumption.
yeah.
So all of the benefits of mirror, but it doesn't cost you anything. You know.
It's incredible. Incredible. So another thing that I don't think it was announced then, but it came out around then. Microsoft is taking, of course, they have for all of their products. We're seeing the word Copilot show up
Yeah.
everywhere, and of course, in the context of our data conversation, SQL Copilot is now a thing. So now we can ask our questions of the data without maybe necessarily needing to know all the T-SQL all the syntax to that.
Yeah.
And so I want to get your thoughts on that. But first, I want to get your thoughts specifically. I have my own, but I want yours around a question that we have in the chat from Hubbub, and that is, hey Jeff and Jason, what would be the impact of Gen AI and ML automation on data engineering jobs and data related jobs? So traditionally, of course, we've had our data engineers, we've had our database engineers. Tend to be different audiences, different group communities of people, and they've been very specialized skill sets. So in this world, especially with SQL Copilot, what about those jobs?
Well, I think the title of this Cloud Talk says it all. It's the rise of the citizen data engineer. The goal and the expectation of any of the co-pilots that Microsoft offers is not a job replacement; it's a job enhancement. And so all of the all of the discussions and all of the breakout sessions that we went through at Fabric were all about how do you leverage Copilot to make your life easier. It was never about replacement of anything, but it was about enhancing the skill that you have today. How do you make that so that you can focus on the things that you need to focus on and reduce the mundane innate tasks? Put those off to Copilot. Use Copilot to help you find more time in your week to do more impactful things.
Right.
That's how it should impact jobs.
I love that. Now, when we think about, as we dig a little deeper into Copilot for SQL, ultimately what we're doing is we're allowing really anybody to be able to ask questions. It's always the beauty of it all, is to ask questions of the data, to interact with the data. In the old days, we needed a data expert to sit in between the question asker, the business person, and the source of the answers, which would be the data. So we needed somebody who could format the right things. Like if we needed very basic question, maybe we needed to triangulate sales by person, by state, by
Mhm.
product. I feel there's a lot of joins going on. I feel like there's a whole
Yeah.
lot of how do I build a table that's going to have all of that stuff from the various sources. But now that's a little different in the Copilot scenario.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes that easier. Um, uh, this isn't a T-SQL example, but it's very similar. So I'm a huge fan of KQL, which is very similar to
Yeah.
T-SQL. And there is so much about that I don't want to memorize because I have Copilot. And so now I'm asking Copilot, the general question. How do I do this? If I want to find this, what is a KQL statement that I can use to get started?
Yeah.
It's never going to be, here is the exact statement. It's going to be, here is an example for you to get started. And I'll take that. And I've already got a head start on, working out my KQL to get the information that I need. And the exact same situation is for SQL. Copilot integrated with SQL, which I thought was really cool because I've had to do some T-SQL.
Yeah.
Um, it somebody that's not a DBA or a data guy, and I'm not, it should be understood, but that's okay. Somebody like me could use Copilot with my limited understanding and my understanding of how to use Copilot and prompt engineering to ask it questions around how do I do this?
Yeah.
This is what I want. This is the output that I need to see using this data set. How do I get started doing that? That's the cool thing about how copilots are integrating everywhere, because now you can have these conversations, as they call it, with your data to get more meaningful inputs and outputs.
Well, and isn't that really the heart of the intent of the Copilot? And that is, I call
Yeah.
it overcoming the inertia. You know, whether
Yeah.
I'm writing an email, whether I'm starting an article, whether I'm creating a PowerPoint, whatever that activity might be, the hardest part for me, and I imagine it's similar for others, is how do I get started? How do I take that first step? Once those first few steps are in motion and the creativity starts, and you start to figure some things out, and it starts to flow a little bit better. And it's also very true, especially I feel that inertia is stronger if it's a technical issue that's keeping me from getting started. What is the right KQL? What is the right T-SQL to do the thing I need to do? Oh, this is how close. Okay, I'm 75% there. Now I can figure the rest out to be customized to exactly what my scenario is.
Yep. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, but I will take small issue. You said it will never be. I don't put anything past these folks. They are smart. You give them, I would say 6 months, but give them a quarter or two. They're going to figure that out. We'll be back here apologizing for saying we will never. They will never. Hey, last big piece that I want to make sure we cover before we lose our time is Purview expansion. How does that fit into this space?
Oh yeah. So integrating your data into Fabric is one thing, but governing and securing and classifying your data is something else entirely. And so, along with
And
the
ridiculously
launch,
important.
it is, and ridiculously difficult, right?
Yeah.
Um, I've never had to do it myself, but I know a whole lot of data architects that have had to go down that path, and it is a daunting path. And so, enter Microsoft Purview.
Yeah.
And so Purview's extension into and the new Purview portal, its extension into Microsoft Fabric, um, and its visibility into the data in Fabric, because all of your data resides in Fabric now, and Purview has access to the data and it can see the data. It allows you to govern your data, classify your data, protect your data, apply sensitivity labels to your data, and it makes it so that it is way easier to do these things, because you can now create policies in the portal and then apply those policies to sets of data, and then it automatically classifies and puts labels and tags and protects your data. And I mean, that's Purview really is kind of the cherry on top of the Fabric ecosystem.
Yeah. Well, obviously, this is a space we need to pay close attention to. It is evolving so quickly, and it is I would call it one of the most important areas to pay attention to. We're all excited about AI, but AI is zero without data. And what we're talking about here are technologies that make that more possible, whether it's Fabric, bringing your data sources into a single source of truth for AI and machine learning to make decisions by, or analytics to make analyze by, or whether it is Purview helping to ensure that that data is safe and secure regardless of where it lies, and give you that dashboard to be able to see the state of states. Now, the title of this event that we just had here, this talk, is The Rise of the Citizen Data Engineer. But it's not just all, it's just not all one person, Wild West, making all this stuff happen. It does take a strategy. And folks, we are super happy that Rackspace continues to sponsor our ability to come in and have these engaging conversations. And they've got a pretty killer offer around how to get started in this space. So Daniel, we've got a QR code that has a sign-up sheet actually to take advantage of a complimentary strategy session to help uncover the use cases for where AI may fit best for you. So I would love for you guys to go check that out. Give it a scan. The link is also in the chat, in the comments, wherever the comments are on your screen. But Jason, unpack this for a second about this journey.
Yeah, sure. So I know the title of it says AI discovery session, but what that really means is you will get in front of some of the best data architects in the world.
Yeah.
And then you can discuss all of these things. And I would encourage you, for those that are wanting the AI discovery session, to ask about the Fabric in a Day workshops that we have and the Gen AI on Azure workshops that we have. Um, there, we actually showcase with hands-on labs for an entire day of how easy it is to integrate with Fabric and how easy it is to create meaningful Gen AI solutions on Azure using Fabric and other data sources. And so that's, go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, so it's not just sitting and listening to, looking at a slide
No,
deck that somebody produced and listening to a salesperson. It's real life data
absolutely not.
engineers. It's hands-on, real life
Yep.
examples to help. I call it for those light bulb moments.
Yeah, you'll be creating Fabric, you'll be integrating, you'll see how easy it is to do that. And which I think is pretty cool.
It's super cool. All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for being on the program. Obviously, as we mentioned before, this is a fast moving space. So don't put that hat away too quick. We're going to have you back real soon to talk about the latest evolutions that are happening here.
Thanks, Jeff.
And the impacts that it's having. So thanks so much for being a part of the program. Everyone, I do also want to thank you for being here today. Make sure to take advantage, there it is, it's over there on my screen, of the free strategy session. We will take you into the weeds. It's not a sales presentation, it is a discovery session with real live data. So love for you to, of course, always subscribe to the Cloud Talk podcast. You can find information about it right here somewhere. There it is, left and right. I struggle with left and right. Kindergarten was a rough grade for me. Also, if you want to learn more about some of the great thought leadership articles that we have here at Rackspace, you can find that over at our thought leadership program, which is called Solve. So rackspace.com/solve, and you can learn all you ever wanted to learn. And it doesn't pop up there, anybody to sell you anything. So you can just pop up over there and get that information. Of course, we'd love for you to take advantage of that workshop as well. So everyone, thank you so much for being a part of the program here today. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Guess what? We're back later this week. I know, you're saying, Jeff, what's going on with this? Well, there's too much AI going on for us to do this just once a week. We're going to talk about AI in a private cloud context and when and where it makes sense, because not everything fits in the public cloud. Okay, it's all hybrid, folks. That's the truth. All right, everyone, I hope you have a great rest of your day. My name is Jeff DeVerter, Chief Technology Evangelist around this place, and I will see you on Thursday morning. This is like 10:30, 11. Just watch the LinkedIn. We'll be back. Have a great day, everybody. My name is Jeff DeVerter.